We will have to understand that Islam is essentially and primarily and basically an spiritual ideology. It is not a social ideology only. It has given us teachings in the social field, in the moral field, in the economic field, in all fields of life. But Islam is basically a spiritual ideology, and unless we teach Islam to our youngsters in this fashion, and we make it also in a way pragmatic, that they can test as to how far they have gone, whether they are going in blind alleys or they are achieving anything. Whether they are achieving anything which they cannot achieve through physical science or through philosophy or through anything else. I think our youngsters will be ready to walk on the way of Islam with greater enthusiasm than our elders. But if you continue to take Islam in this ritualistic, truncated, moth-eaten, scholastic, hidebound, lifeless, static fashion, I don't think there is any future for Islam.
Yes, I understand.
Wait a minute, please. Yeah, just like to ask.
Please, very important. Please.
Okay. Is it all right, Mawlana Sahib? Could I ask you a question?
It's 25 to...
Yeah, make it brief.
Yes, all right. Ask me. Okay. Mawlana Sahib, we are told that Anwar Shah Sahib of Deoband is one of the greatest theologians of this century. Now, in his Nukte Anwar, he has stated that there are more than 100 errors in Bukhari Sharif. What is your opinion of this comment?
He is right. He is right. He was one of the most eminent scholars of the hadith in this century. There is no doubt about it. And he was also one of the beautiful personalities whom I love. You see, he was not an all-round Islamic theologian of eminence, but in the field of hadith, he was a great man. Definitely.
This does imply that all that is stated in Bukhari Sharif is not correct.
It does imply that.
And it is true.
It does imply that.
But it is true.
Yes, it is true.
Then how are we to know which particular hadith is correct according to this version?
Yes, for that...
the question is a very important one here.
Yes, the question is important, and the question was solved by these great Imams themselves. You know, the great contribution of Imam al-Bukhari, Allah bless him, is an invaluable contribution. You see, because at that time, there was no compendium, proper compendium. There were just a few manuscripts, very, very small manuscripts on the sayings of the Holy Prophet. And the Jews had started this mischief. So the greatest contribution of Sayyidina Imam al-Bukhari was to sift all those forged hadiths, 99.9%, or 99%, or 98%. That itself is a very great contribution. And then he was sinless. So he gave us those canons, those principles, and that is his another major contribution. Now on those principles he evaluated the hadith. His life was not indefinite, as we know. It's not that he lived for 5,000 years. So as a human being, he worked day and night. I will say the first great task was to collect all the ahadith, forged and unforged. The next task was to formulate principles of the science of history which were not known to the world before him. And he is the founder and initiator. The third task was to evaluate all the ahadith that he had on that touchstone and to ultimately classify them. So in that classification, 80% of that heap went by the board. 20% remained. So he carried on his test with his touchstone on that. Then finally, because he knew that he was going to pass away, he tried to complete his work as best as he could. So he said, this hadith is hadith of the first category, of the highest, in point of authenticity, which we can possibly say on those principles which I have formulated. This hadith is of second category, this is of third, this is of fourth, this is of fifth, this is of sixth, this is of seventh, this is of eighth, so on. He was an honest man. He gave that material at the time of his death. Here is the work that I have done. Here is the method. Here is the entire material. And I leave it to posterity because I did not get as much time as I needed further. Now, other muhaddithin came into the field and they also did a very fine job. But in the meantime, as I have said, the great mischief had been done because of the huge influx of converts. You see, converts without any plan. I mean, say, if a Muslim missionary goes to a person and contacts him and preaches to him and argues with him and convinces him and teaches him Islam, and then that person becomes a Muslim, that is different. If communities just proclaim through their heads, we want to be Muslims, we want to be considered to be Muslims through their king and so on, what are you going to do? Of course, you will try to send teachers as many as possible, but it's not that you can have infinite number of teachers and also of the first quality, who can brainwash them properly and then indoctrinate them in Islam properly and put them on the path properly. So those things were also there. And consequently, that little confusion which remained has caused this thing that up to this time in the Siyasita there are hadiths which should not be included there, which should be removed. And but during the 500 years, during the last 500 or 600 years, the Muslim ulama's role has been that of copying. The original ulama had the spirit of ijtihad, of discrimination, creative work. You see, creative work they did. After that, as if the world of Islam became tired of that job or something like that, or there came up mischief, so for the sake of maintaining uniformity and solidarity and continuity of that tradition, they said stop here. It is final. You see? So that seal of finality when it was put there, with good intentions, with goodwill, that has given us benefits, but at the same time, our ulama, even our eminent ulama, have not done that which they should have done. It is one example, you see, in this century, Mawlānā Dr Rahmatullah Ta'ala, the first in this century, and then after him, there have been certain other ulama in Egypt and in Syria who have carried on this work. But this work has not yet been finalized.
Mawlānā Dakr's question of what to shift now. How do we know which hadith is correct?
This question is a very important one from the point. Wait a minute.
Just 1 second, I just want to mention this. There were 700,000 hadiths, and out of that they had come down to 3,500, which are supposed to be most correct. So what happened to the 700,000? You mean the chain of narrators, there was something wrong with it?
Not only the chain of narrators, you see, because when a hadith is evaluated, the first point in connection with that hadith is that the chain of reporters should be a continuous one, number one. The second point is that all those who are members of that chain, their character, they should be persons of integrity, of the highest integrity, that it may not have been possible for them to speak a lie. Then they must also have been persons of highest intellect. It should not have been possible for them to misunderstand anything which they might have heard. You see, they must have proper wisdom. In this manner it was taken. But there is one very important point there which later Muhaddithin brought up and which is being emphasized now in this 20th century. After this great work of Sayyidina Mawlānā Dr Ansari Rahmatullah Ta'ala, that the first touchstone about the hadith is that it should not contradict in spirit or in letter anything which is there in the Quran. You see? And not only that, it should be in genuine conformity with it. It should be a sort of explanation of it, because according to the Quran, the Holy Prophet ﷺ had been given the mission in these words, لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ مَا نُزِّلَ إِلَيْهِمْ, that the Prophet ﷺ may expound to his followers what had been revealed in the Quran. Now, naturally, this exposition was to be something outside the Quran, and this exposition it is which is called the hadith.
Mawlānā, there's one point here that has been worrying me very much, that there were different sects after the demise of our Prophet. And these different people said that they created this hadith because Islam was at a low ebb. And they created this hadith out of their own minds, just to inject some enthusiasm into the minds of the Muslims, which is not in conflict with the Quran either. So when you say that a hadith, standard of a hadith, the basis of hadith is that if it is in conflict with the Quran, it must be thrown away. But these people created the hadith out of their own minds and they fabricated it, which did not conflict with the Quran. That our Prophet said that if you do a certain thing, you'll be blessed, which you cannot prove that it is in conflict with the Quran. So how do you explain that position?
But besides that too, after so many hadiths has been thrown away, as Mr. Anwar has pointed out, are we to take the present Sahasitta editions now? Must we take them as facts or genuine, or mustn't we take them as genuine? That is one. Two, who is going to sit as a judge to say that these hadiths are genuine? And the present day Muslim who has nothing to do with religion, they are only interested in frictions and arguments, they will say that Dr. Ansari said so and so, that the hadith is fabricated and finished, and there is no end to it. The controversy will go on again.
I have not said it.
Wait a minute, Adam. Wait a minute, Adam. I want you to answer this question as I see it, because this recorded tape of yours will be carried on again, and new arguments will start in the community again.
Yes.
So, if Bukhari's hadith is as they stand today, how many of them do you think they are wrong and must be thrown away or mustn't be believed?
I have made it very clear that it is a work to be undertaken by the highest ulama who are specialists in this field. I cannot be an all-knowing person. I cannot be a person standing as highest in every field of knowledge, you see. And consequently, this verdict should not be obtained from me.
But I mean, your words
No. I mean, say this verdict should not be obtained from me so far as my reading goes. The work of these great muhaddiseen is eminently acceptable, not at the same level as the Holy Quran, which was given in that form in which we have it now by the Holy Prophet ﷺ himself. But there should be an eminent council of the best ulama who are experts in the science of hadith and also experts of the Quran, who should take it up honestly, in order that even that thing which appears to me to be 2% or 3%, that thing which appears to me to be weak from the point of view of the norms and principles which Islam teaches, those things may be eradicated from there, if they are to be eradicated, with a consensus of the ulama. You see? And so long as this thing does not take place, we should stick basically, as we have been commanded, to the Quran as the book of guidance, to all those ahadiths which are explanatory very directly of the Quran, to leave out any hadith which might be mutashabih, which might create any sort of confusion. For the time being, leave it to the experts. We will not lose anything thereby. The Quran has proclaimed about itself that it is tibyanan li kulli shay, it is a complete guidance in every problem. This is a proclamation made by the Quran. Then in the ahadith, according to the Quranic norms, you have got to study the life and character and personality of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, which is the Sunnah. We are Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and our basis is the Holy Quran and the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. Anything which goes out of this scope and is there in that hadith, that should be subjected to scrutiny. You see? And any common Muslim should refrain from saying anything for or against it up to the time that the experts say anything. Because it cannot be made a sort of child's play.
It possibility that we have such people,
Mawlana
who
Dr.
can
Ansari
scrutinize the hadith from this point of view.
Hyderabad University was organizing this work some years ago, Dr. Sayyid Abdul Latif.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes, but unfortunately it could not progress. This work is there even before the scholars of Pakistan. I would say, if Dr. Fazlur Rahman, my namesake, was made the director of the Central Islamic Research Institute, had not that type of thought which he has, probably we might have been able to cover a lot of ground in this field under the Central Islamic Research Institute of Pakistan, because that is financed by the Pakistan government and it does not lack much in finances or in getting the services of eminent scholars. There are eminent scholars in the world of Islam who, if they are put on any job, I hope that inshallah ta'ala they will be able to do their job. It's not that the Islamic world is just blank in that way. But for all such things, I believe that so far as the basic Islam is concerned, it is there. Even the whole of Islam is there in the Holy Quran. And in connection with the Holy Quran again, we have been taught, and that stands to reason, that the basis of religion is ayatul muhkamat, the clear-cut verses. If there are verses which require interpretation, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not made them as the basis for our code of life. You see? We can leave them to experts, but Islam is something practical. We should take it in a practical manner, and we should try to understand from the life of the Prophet ﷺ as to how he transformed those human beings. What was that process? So that the same process we may also undertake for ourselves as individuals and for our community, anywhere, and stick to this Al-Kitab wa Sunnah. And inshallah we will have a smooth sailing. But for ordinary people, even for the ordinary Maulvis, to indulge in controversies would be absolutely wrong.
Before you conclude,
And as our community, for instance, stands here, I think the first and foremost what it needs is unity and solidarity and love and goodwill and harmony between Muslims, and abstention from divisions. You see, that is the first and foremost thing. That is the command given in the Holy Quran. And we should start, if anybody is doing something trivial with which, or something not trivial but something, say, secondary, let us confine our own selves to the things which are first or primary or basic. Let us cover the basic field first before we go out to find faults with so and so and so and so and so and so. You see?
Hazrat, before we conclude, the point is, there are a lot of followers of Mr. Parvez here, and they would love to see your decision on the question of hadith. Now the words Sihasitta, the 6 true books of traditions are there. And these 6 true books of traditions, if people are going to analyze who have no knowledge at all, but just because Mr. Parvez said certain things, and because Mr. So-and-so said certain things, and now because you say that there are Anwar Shah Sahib said so-and-so, and because Dr. Ansari said so many things, they will start this controversy immediately to say that Bukhari's hadith could not be believed, and the other Sahasita books must not be believed too. The danger is there that the people who have nothing to do with religion but to sit and criticize day in and day out and bring down this hadith, and this hadith is wrong, and that hadith is wrong, and that hadith is wrong, and this is that, and this is that. It will continue for a long time to come. So now, are we to take it that the Siyasata books as they stand, the ordinary man in the street, like we are here now, have no right to analyze those hadiths?
Absolutely no right. Absolutely no right. Only the most eminent scholars of the hadith who are called muhaddithin, only they have the right. Not even the ordinary ulama have any right in that behalf. You see, that is the first thing. And the other thing is that the siyasita, in spite of the fact that we might feel that there are a few hadiths there which may not have been, which may not be acceptable, in the siyasita itself you will find that there are hadiths of various categories. It has been mentioned there that such and such hadith is muttafaqun alayh, agreed by all. Such and such a hadith is hasan, it is good. Such and such hadith is gharib, it is rare, you see. Or such and such hadith is weak. Because those muhaddithin were honest, therefore they have mentioned all that. And consequently the siyasita is a very valuable treasure for us to be able to understand even the Quran and the hadith. Even the Quran and the life of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. And because Islam is built up on these two things, the Quran and the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, so it will be impossible for us at any time of our history to cast away the hadith books as something useless or meaningless, God forbid. They will remain the source of Islamic guidance, and they are source of Islamic guidance, definitely. The only question that can emerge, and that too for the experts, eminent experts, is whether such and such hadith which is there, which has already been called there rare or anything of that sort, and which does not seem to tally with the norms and principles and laws that are given in the Quran, whether that hadith should be retained in that compendium or not. That is all. It is not that 98% hadiths there are of that nature and 2% alone are of the other nature. It's not that way. What the fact is, as I said in the very beginning, that I believe that 98% hadiths in Sahih al-Bukhari are such that they cannot be challenged.
Cannot be challenged.
Cannot be challenged.
In the present state as it exists in Bukhari's work.
Yes, of course. Bukhari's work has not changed. Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim and Imam Abu Dawud and the other great Imams, they have laid the entire Muslim world under a deep debt of gratitude for the enormous work and the very valuable work and very important work and the very basic work which they did. And I actually disagree with Mr. Ghulam Ahmad Parvez. I feel about him, without meaning any insult to him, I feel about him that he does not even understand the ABC of philosophy of religion. He does not understand what for religion stands, what is its function, what is its quest. He is not a theologian, he is not an eminent scholar of Arabic, he is not also an eminent scholar of modern thought. He is only a BA, and a BA in my country is just an ordinary person. And the manner in which he has dabbled in Islam, I think it is impossible, at least for me, to accept him as an authority on Islam in any manner whatsoever. I believe, and I firmly hold to it, and I am a member of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and I am a member of it not because I was born as one, but because I have taken this trouble and I have undergone this hard labor for years and years and years in order in trying to read every single book that was written by the Muslims from the earliest times up to this day. And it is on the basis of my conviction and whatever insight I have that I am an orthodox Muslim. I believe in the hadith and I believe in the fiqh and I believe in Sufism, and of course everyone believes in the Quran. That is the starting point. These things which I say that we should curb this spirit of ritualism and disunity and fighting on small issues, and we should try to imbibe the Islamic spirit. This never means that whatever has been prescribed in Islam, the 5 daily prayers or fasting during Ramadan or performance of Hajj or anything of that sort, that this can be given up at any time or in any manner. Whatever has been prescribed for us, whether it is in the form of a ceremony or it is in the form of a law or it is in the form of a rule or in the form of a principle or in the form of a norm. Whatever has been given to us, and whatever was accepted by the Muslims and what has come down to us as in this school of thought, which is called the school of thought of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, who formed and have always formed the overwhelming majority of Muslims. Overwhelming majority of Muslims. To me, this is the real Islam, this is genuine Islam, this is correct Islam. The only mistake that we have started committing is in connection with its practice. Its practice. In that we have sometimes tried to put the cart before the horse. The cart is also there and the horse is also there. They are both Islamic, you see. But if we put the cart behind the horse, then we will be able to use it for our travel. If we put the horse behind the cart, then something else might happen. So it should not give any impression to anyone. Last night after my speech, one gentleman came to me and he said, "Are you a follower of Parvez?" I said, "I disagree with him cent %." You see, cent % in the sense, the system of thought which is there, the arrangement of values which are there, you see, that is absolutely wrong. He might have said many things which we also say and which are there in Islam. You see, but that system of thought which he has given to us is, in my opinion, un-Islamic. He has not been able to catch the proper spirit of Islam and the proper valuation.
All our activities are devoid of spirituality, and that we must, reminds me of Iqbal's Rasme Azar hai gayi ruhe bilali na rahi. It's like the spirit is missing. Now, even in the madrasa, you said that we must acquire spirituality. Now, in the Quran Sharif, there is Lahul Asma'ul Husna Fad'uhu biha. And then the hadith, Taqallaku bi akhlaqillah. Will you just...
What do you close it? Yes. Yeah. You see, this in question of the Quranic concept of the spiritualization of life as a whole, the first basic principle that the Quran has laid down is that a Muslim should keep in mind all the time that he is here only to serve God and not to serve his own purposes as they might emerge from his own self. The purposes, of course, will emerge from his own self, but they have got to be subordinated to divine pleasure. This is the basis of the spiritualization of life in Islam, because Islam has converted all worldly things and all worldly activities into acts of worship. If these worldly activities are performed with the consciousness that they are being performed in obedience to the divine law and the divine scheme of things, in order that the divine purpose may be fulfilled, then every action, however mundane it may appear to us to be, is an act of worship according to Islam. When we take the food or when we take rest or anything of that sort, you see, which appear to us to be non-religious acts, they have been converted into acts of worship by this formula, by the Holy Quran. As the Holy Quran has clearly laid down, that the motto and the ideal and the manner and mode of a Muslim's life should be Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alamin la sharika lah. That my prayer and my sacrifice, and not only these things, but my life itself, every aspect of my life and my death, everything is for Allah alone. And it is for Allah alone with undivided allegiance. It is not that I may say that 99% of it is for God and 1% for someone else, even for my own self or for my own ego. Then the Holy Quran has given a complete system of how to acquire spirituality, as we may call it, or how to develop your spiritual faculty. In this connection, as a matter of fact, the salat or prayer, the obligatory, 5 obligatory prayers, they are the basic exercise. But they become the basic exercise only when these prayers are performed with the spirit and in